نحمد ونصلي على رسول الكريم أما بعد بسم الله. Alhamdulillah, we have gathered again today on the best day of the week, Al-Jum al-Jum'ah, to glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to offer our prayer in congregation. Every week, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be talking briefly about a small act of worship, a dua or some guidance from sunnah that we can act on a daily basis and inshallah get immense reward. So we start with the narration. Abu Hurairah ta'ala narrates in Bukhari, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, كلمتان حبيبتان إلى الرحمن خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم. Two words are beloved to the most merciful. They are light on the tongue but heavy on the scale. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah al-azim. So inshallah, if we take a few seconds to recite these two kalimat, subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah al-azim, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, every time we get a chance between our work, while doing driving, we have lots of time that is idle. Our mind is wandering into different directions. But if we train ourselves and keep our tongue moist with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and use those moments to really reflect, and if we cannot concentrate, at the very least, get our tongue to keep moving with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, get Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into our heart, and inshallah, you'll be surprised on the day of judgment when your book of deed will be given to you, that you have immense rewards gathered on those all idle times that you never paid attention to. Again, the kalimats are subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanallah al-azim. Let's try to make it into practice whenever we have a moment to do dhikr with these kalimat. Our topic, inshallah, today will be about our connection with our deen, the deen of Islam, on a daily basis. And from the time we wake up in the morning till we go to bed, and all the activities that we do, whether we go to work, we stay at home, we go to school, are we embodying the principles of Islam, the tenets of Islam? Is that something that we inculcate in our daily practice? That's the reflection we will have today, inshallah. So before we begin, it's always wise to look at what is expected. Every time you want to accomplish something, let's say you are at work and you want to make sure that you are considered a successful employee, you ask your boss the question, what are my goals for the year? What is it that I need to do this year so I'll be awarded the best employee of the year? So again, you go to the source and ask what is the target, and then you act upon it. So similarly, for us, the source is Quran and Sunnah. So we go to the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to understand what is the expectation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from us as believers about Islam. It comes Surah Baqarah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا ادخلوا في السلم كافة ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. O you who have believed, enter into Islam completely and perfectly, and do not follow the footsteps of Shaitan. Indeed, he is a clear enemy to you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to enter Islam completely. So we should ask ourselves this question: what does it mean? What does it mean to enter Islam completely? And have we entered Islam completely or not? That should be our question. So we will look at 5 aspects of our life, inshallah, today. In the next 10 or so minutes, we'll look at how we can evaluate ourselves on the 5 aspects of life and understand, are we fulfilling this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are entering Islam fully? So what are those 5 aspects of life? Those, number 1 being aqaid, the belief. Number 2, ibadat, the worship. Number 3, ma'amlat, our contracts and transactions. Then number 4, ma'ashra, meaning social interactions and relationship. And the last one, akhlaq, etiquettes and character. So inshallah, we'll try to go through one by one. This is a very vast topic, so we'll pick out of each one of those aspects, maybe one activity, and analyze ourselves upon it, evaluate whether we are fully entering Islam today or not. So for aqaid, for belief, of course, we have the 6 pillars of Iman, the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the angels, the books, the messengers, and the day of judgment, and that the fate is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, good or bad. So those are the 6 core tenets of Iman. So we'll pick one of them, which is the day of judgment. And we'll look at ourselves and our actions, and we'll ask this question: do we truly believe that we will be resurrected on the day of judgment? And if we do believe that, does that belief stop us from committing sins? Is this belief translating into our action? So do we think that we will be standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment, and then when the book of deed will be given to us, how will we respond? How will we explain ourselves? That should be top of mind for us. It comes in Surah Yasin, verse number 65. اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون. That day we will seal over their mouths, and their hands will speak to us, and their feet will testify about what they used to earn. So when your eyes gaze at something you're not supposed to watch, when you eat or drink something you're not supposed to ingest, when you curse someone, use foul language, or make obscene hand gestures, do you recall for a minute that you will be asked about all these actions by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment? And that moment you will not be able to deny any of your actions, because your mouth will be sealed, and yet all your body parts will testify against you. So there is no escape at that moment. So let's ask ourselves this question: have we fully entered into Islam just from this perspective of believing strongly on the day of judgment? Do we act with that mindset on a daily basis? And let's evaluate, have we fully entered into Islam or not? So that's the first aspect of life, which is about aqaid. Let's go to the second one, about worships, ibadat. So of course the obvious ones are salah, sawm, zakah, hajj, jihad fi sabilillah, so striving the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, amr bil ma'ruf wa nahy anil munkar, so guiding people towards or calling people towards good, and advising them against evil, and making the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are many aspects of our ibadat. Again, let's pick one of them as a barometer and check ourselves. Are we fulfilling this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we have entered into Islam completely? So how many of us are regular in our daily 5 prayers? That's a fundamental question we should be asking. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us. We are good at making excuses. We have an excuse for almost every prayer. And for Fajr, too early, and hard to wake up. For Zohr and Asr, too busy at work or school, did not get a chance. Maghrib, did not even notice sunset has happened already, And Isha, too tired, I had a very busy day, and just crashed onto the bed. So we can always make up these excuses, but we should remember this narration from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, which reminds us how important salah is. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, بَيْنَ الْعَبْدِ وَبَيْنَ الْكُفْرِ تَرْكُ الصَّلَاةِ. Between a man and disbelief is neglecting his prayer. Allahu Akbar. So missing a prayer intentionally is a major sin, and it is similar in severity to disbelief. We should not take this lightly at all. And people in hellfire will be asked this question: what got you here? Why did you end up in hellfire? What landed you in this state? What will they say? We learn in Surah Mudassir. قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُنْ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. What will they say? They will answer, we were not among those who offered prayer. So it's very clear what the outcome will be if we do not pray on a regular basis. So let's again assess ourselves on just this one pillar of Islam among ibadat, the salah. Have we entered into Islam completely? The third aspect of life which we should consider is mu'amalat, contracts and transactions. And we'll look at the major ones in life. Think about, as an example, employment contract. So you make a contract when you work at a company. You make a contract with that company that you will give your full attention to work while you're there. And in these days, this is a challenge if you think about it, because you're working from home. It's so easy to get distracted, whether a message pops up on your mobile device, or a house chore comes to your mind, and all of a sudden your employer is thinking you're working hard, and yet you are doing some other activities. That should not be taken lightly. You're not fulfilling your commitment. It's a contract that you have with your employer that you will be paying full attention. Of course, some workplaces have flexibility. So as long as you make up your hours, as long as you finish your task, you know best, what is the expectation of your employer. So you have to fulfill that expectation even though you're working from home. But that is a contract. We should not be taking it lightly on a daily basis. And it's important for us to keep that in our mind to make sure that we are earning halal. Second one, which is again common, rental agreement. You're living, in a rental house. You have arrangement. Let's say your utilities are included in your contract, that you will be having reasonable use of those utilities, but you let your child run water and don't care about it. Even during the day, your lights are on. You're running laundry at the most peak hours of electricity rates. All those things are minor on a daily basis. We don't even think about this, but guess what? They are something that we should be mindful about. It's part of your rental agreement. It's part of our daily life. All those things we think of as sometimes Islam is outside of our daily routine, but it's not. It's about bringing Islam into your daily routine. That's what is asked for. So, third example of mu'amalat would be buying and selling goods. You post something on Facebook Marketplace, on Kijiji. You don't explain to the buyer what the defects you have in your product. You let them just come and pick up. You take good pictures, and later on, even if they discover those problems, you don't give them a refund. The sale is done. SubhanAllah, that's not the behavior of a mu'min. When you're selling, you should be advising of what problem that product has, so that the other person can make a fair judgment on their end. And yet, we do not want this. If you flip it around, when you buy something and you have the same problem, of course, you want your refund. You want to make sure you will get it back completely. You will argue, you will fight for it. So again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions all of this. The behavior of us as humans and our let's say shortcomings. This comes in Surah Mutaffifin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the double standard. وَيْلٌ لِلْمُطَفِّفِينَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا اكْتَالُوا عَلَى النَّاسِ يَسْتَوْفُونَ وَإِذَا كَالُوهُمْ أَوْ وَزَنُوهُمْ يُخْسِرُونَ. Woe to those who give less than due, who when they take a measure from people, they take in full. And when they have to give by measure or weight, they give less than due. So these are just some examples of contracts and transactions that all of us are in some shape or form engaged with. So again, the question we're trying to answer and reflect upon is, have we fully entered into Islam or not? And this is the third aspect of life that we should be looking at. So we looked at aqaid, our belief system. We looked at ibadat, worships. And the third one was transactions and contracts, mu'amalat. Let's look at the final two briefly. Then there's fourth one, which is ma'ashra, meaning social interactions and relationships. So what is the guidance? Let's go to the advice from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam about ma'ashra, social interactions. Comes in Bukhari. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, narrated by Abdullah bin Amr, al-Muslimu man salima al-Muslimun min lisani wa yadihi. Very basic but fundamental and important. A Muslim is the one who avoids harming Muslims with his tongue or his hands. So again, are we mindful? Are we mindful in our daily interactions with our neighbors, with our co-workers, even with our family members, that we are not transgressing the limits, that we are giving them rights? And of course, this is what we should reflect. Are we giving rights to everyone in our daily interaction or not? And similarly, to the broader society, are we acting in a way that's deteriorating the society, or it's improving the situation around us? Again, that's the reflection we should have. And the last one, which is about etiquettes and character, akhlaq, the fifth aspect of life, we should ask this question: have we entered into Islam completely or not? What is the guidance? أَكْمَلُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ إِيمَانًا أَحْسَنُهُمْ خُلُقًا. Comes in narration, Abu Hurairah narrates from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, recorded in Tirmidhi. The most complete of the believers in faith is the one with the best character among them. So think about this, do we save ourselves from lying, backbiting, slandering, arrogance, jealousy, hatred? Is this something we catch ourselves from or not? Or similarly, do we show kindness on the other side? Generosity, empathy, compassion, sincerity. Is this the behavior? Are these the manners and etiquettes that we exuberate from ourselves? Is this how people would, look at you and they will remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That's the quality of a mu'min. That when someone looks at them, they remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Are we one of those type of people or not? Have we entered into Islam completely or not? So inshallah, I'll close off with two quotations, one from Umar radiallahu anhu, which is a very profound, and he mentions, "Hasibu anfusakum qabla an tuhasabu." Take account of yourself before you're taken account of. And then, of course, the best of creation, what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam mentions, "Al-kaysu man dana nafsahu wa amila lima ba'da al-maut." The wise man is the one who takes account of himself and strives for that which is after death. So it is upon all of us. Look at those 5 aspects of our life on a daily basis. Go back to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us as believers. Enter into Islam completely. And what are those 5 things to consider? Aqaid, your belief system. Ibadat, worship. Ma'amnat, your contracts and transactions. Ma'ashrat, your social interactions and relationships. And finally, the last one is akhlaq, etiquettes and character. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك التواب الرحيم سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك